the sun influences everything we experience on Earth. Earth is so perfectly positioned to experience this.
Totality hits.
This amazing phenomenon that is so rare throughout the universe.
This is a great time to learn more about our own star and how it affects our daily lives.
Instant chills.
I burst into tears.
There's no other feeling like it. It's insane.
Everybody should be watching.
Hello and welcome to NASA's live coverage of the 2026 total solar eclipse. We're at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, and over the next hour or so, we'll be tracking the eclipse as it races across the North Atlantic and Europe. A total solar eclipse occurs when the moon moves between the sun and Earth and completely blocks the face of the sun, casting a temporary shadow on Earth. People located within the moon's shadow, also known as the path of totality, will experience a total solar eclipse. The sky will darken briefly as if it were dawn or dusk. So weather permitting, people in the path of totality will see the corona, the sun's outer atmosphere, which is normally hidden by the bright face of the sun. Today's total solar eclipse will sweep across Greenland, Iceland, northern Russia, Spain, and a small corner of Portugal. Many other areas in the Northern Hemisphere are already or will soon experience a partial solar eclipse, including much of Canada and parts of the northern US. And for many along the western part of the eclipse path, such as mainland Europe and Africa, the eclipse will occur early evening, creating a rare opportunity to see a sunset eclipse. Over the next couple of hours, we'll be bringing you live feeds from telescopes across Europe and hopefully views of totality in Iceland and Spain. Thank you so much to our partners, Time and Date, Southern Illinois University, and Exploratorium for those views. During today's show, we'll be joined by experts to learn why celestial events like these ones are important to study, document, and experience. And I have an important reminder on that note. When watching a partial solar eclipse, you must always use the right protection. You can use safe solar viewing glasses, like these ones called eclipse glasses, or a safe handheld solar viewer like this, or you can use indirect viewing methods as well. Regular sunglasses, no matter how dark, will not work and are not safe for viewing the sun. So be sure to stay safe. Now, let's head over to my colleague Ernie Wright, who can tell us more about where the action is happening today.
Thanks, Joy. I'm standing in front of the map that I made for the eclipse that we're going to experience today. We're looking down at the North Pole here, and the red stripe is the path of totality. Those are the locations that will experience totality today. As we animate this, you can also see the much broader penumbra shadow. That's where the partial eclipse occurs. But here comes the umbra shadow. That's where totality is happening, inside that little oval. It passes over the east coast of Greenland, the west coast of Iceland, and across northern Spain, where, as Joy said, they'll experience an eclipse within an hour of sunset, so they should have lots of opportunities for really beautiful photographs. And then as the eclipse progresses and that umbra disappears, West Africa will also get an opportunity to see a partial eclipse as that penumbra shadow sort of slides off the edge of the Earth here. Now, as we zoom up and look at Iceland and Spain, Reykjavik is here in that southwest corner of Iceland. We're kind of crossing our fingers for them because it's a little bit cloudy there right now. That umbra shadow is traveling over 2,000 miles an hour as it passes through the path and crosses the North Atlantic. And then it runs into Spain here, where we expect more than 15 million people will be watching this eclipse. Some of them on the beach in Mallorca right before sunset, so they should get some really beautiful photographs over the mountains to the west. Now, the situation in the US is going to look like this. That yellow line is the southern limit of the partial eclipse. So folks south of that line, you're not going to see an eclipse today. But if you're north and east of that line, you may already be starting to see the partial eclipse. It takes 2.5 hours for that partial shadow to pass all the way across the United States. So it's not like totality. You don't have to run out there at the exact moment. Some places will have a partial eclipse that lasts for almost 2.5 hours. Others, maybe just an hour. So this is the situation right now. Montana, your eclipse is over. The shadow is passing out of North Dakota, but Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, you're in it. The Northeast is also in it. And for folks in the Mid-Atlantic, you will be in it soon enough. Now, before you run outside to look at your eclipse that's happening right now, we want to show you a short video about how to observe this eclipse safely.
If you'd like to find and explore the animated eclipse maps yourself, like the ones Ernie was referencing, safety instructions, and much more about today's eclipse, head to science.nasa.gov/eclipses. So next, I'd like to introduce our first guest here in the studio. We have Dr. Kelly Corrick, who is one of NASA's heliophysicists, who studies the sun and its effects across the solar system. And she's also studied the sun's corona in great depth. Thank you so much for helping us kick off today's coverage.
It's great to be here, Joy.
So let's talk about why we don't always see eclipses on Earth. We've got this awesome model here called an Ori. So using this, can we talk about their orbits and why we don't see it every month?
Yes, so here we have the sun, the moon, and the earth. And as we move, we can see that the moon is not exactly on the same line that we have with the sun. So the earth can view the sun pretty well, but when we get it to about here, we can see that sometimes, maybe a little further, sometimes it lines up perfectly so that we're able to have that eclipse. And that's when we have that eclipse. So that 5 degrees off ends up not having an eclipse every new moon.
Okay. And so today's eclipse will travel across Europe for the first time since 1999. Yeah. Can you tell me, why does that region not experience eclipses as often? And what is it that makes this eclipse unique?
Right, so this eclipse is unique because of the fact that it's near sunset. It's also the fact that Europe doesn't get as many, just simply as to the location, and any place on Earth, really, it's about 300 to 400 years between the time you get eclipses. So there's a lot of ocean on the Earth that we just don't, it just doesn't go over land. Plus with the angle, it tends to move very quickly and pass in and out, so they don't get a lot of eclipses. And again, it's super special being near sunset, so being able to see a sun setting being eclipsed, it's going to be really awesome photos.
Okay. And I've also heard of eclipse seasons. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, so an eclipse season, when an eclipse happens like this, that lineup means that you're going to see the solar eclipse, so either a partial, annular, or total, and then you're going to see a lunar eclipse about 2 weeks later. So in about 2 weeks, we'll be able to enjoy the orientation where the Earth is actually casting the shadow on the moon and having a lunar eclipse. So that's the eclipse season.
Oh, fantastic. And I know Europe is going to have another eclipse happening which seems to be a lucky few years for that region.
Yeah, definitely lucky, and it's going to be a wonderful eclipse, and actually the longest eclipse of the century. So it's going to be 6 minutes and 28 seconds. So that's a very long one. Great for scientific investigation.
Wow. And so eclipses can occur somewhere on Earth roughly every 18 months or so. So why is it that NASA continues to study solar eclipses?
Because every eclipse is a little bit different. The sun changes as it rotates or changes its 11-year cycle. The Earth and the area of the Earth that it covers is different. So we make sure that we study it each time.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Kelly.
Thank you.
So throughout today's coverage, we'll be joined by other NASA experts like Dr. Kelly Corrick, who can answer any of your questions that you have about solar eclipses, the science we're doing, and all the other activities you're hearing about today. You can ask your questions in the chat on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Instagram, or tag @NASA wherever you're watching. We also have questions we want to ask you today. So if you want to head over to NASA's Twitch or Instagram stories and take a look at the poll we've got for you, you can participate and answer those questions. And so before we go on, I just want to point out that you may have noticed a clock counting down in the upper left corner of today's show. We'll have 2 different countdown clocks displayed over the course of the next hour. We'll let you know how close we are to the first instances of totality in the telescope views we have in Iceland and Spain, respectively. Those are the 2 locations where we hope our telescope partners will be able to capture the best views of the sun being totally eclipsed by the moon. We're tracking totality in Reykjavik, Iceland at 1:48 p.m. Eastern Time, or 5:48 p.m. local time. It will last about a minute or so. And then we're going to set our sights to Leon, Spain, for totality there at 2:28 p.m. Eastern Time, or 8:28 p.m. local time. And the eclipse there will be about 2 minutes long. So there's a lot of science taking place during those fleeting moments of totality today in Iceland, and we have experiments on the ground and in the air. And in the view looking at right now, there's a camera that will be capturing the view of the sun's corona when it's time for totality. When totality hits in Iceland, the planes are going to be chasing the moon's shadow for as long as they can. They're going to be studying the sun's corona, where the skies will hopefully be clear up there. The plane took off from Keflavik Airport about an hour ago, and then we're going to be talking to the science team live from Iceland very shortly. Before we do that, let's learn more about what it's like to be a NASA pilot in those eclipse experiments.
For most people, a total solar eclipse lasts just a few minutes. But NASA's pilots find a way to make it last longer, trying to outrun the moon's shadow with an airplane.
The truth is it's actually chasing us. We get out in front of it and overtake us. Once we're in totality, we advance the throttles to max and try and stay in totality for as long as we can.
Making that happen takes extreme precision. Scientists calculate exactly where the airplane needs to be at each moment.
We do a lot of missions where being in the right point in time and space are critical. This is one of them.
Eclipse Day, the WB-57 aircraft climbs more than 50,000 feet into the stratosphere, above most of Earth's atmosphere, where clouds, dust, and water vapor can obscure the view.
Doing an eclipse from 50,000 feet provides a really clear shot of the sun. And that allows us to have confidence in the data that there's on the sun rather than distortions from the atmosphere.
When the moon's shadow arrives, it engulfs the aircraft.
It's weird. Right where you're at, it's dark. Everywhere you see is twilight, and the temperature of the cockpit drops, so it's very noticeable.
As the eclipse unfolds, the pilot keeps the aircraft on course, while the sensor operator fine-tunes the cameras, capturing every second of data.
You're very, very, very busy, and it's very high pressure because, of course, there's no do-overs. You only get one opportunity to get.
That's live from Keflavik Airport in Iceland. Hi, Mir. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Joy. It's a pleasure.
So firstly, how are you feeling right now? And can you tell us what experiment you're doing today?
Yes, well, feelings are mixed today because, as you can see behind me, the sky is not very great for those of us here on the ground. On the other hand, we have an airplane that's now cruising at 50,000 feet above sea level that's prepared to observe the eclipse in just about 15 minutes. And we're going to be imaging the solar corona with an instrument that has 4 cameras on board with observations ranging from visible light through near infrared all the way to the mid-wave infrared, which we often refer to as the thermal infrared, to make new observations of the corona and learn all about structure and dynamics.
What is it about the corona, the sun's atmosphere, that we're trying to better understand?
You know, we've known for about 100 years now that the corona is incredibly hot. It is millions of degrees hot, even though the solar surface is only a few thousand degrees. We're still trying to understand exactly how the corona's magnetic field carries that energy up from the solar surface to the corona, heat it to those high levels. Our observations today will open new discovery space with wavelengths that are very rarely observed, that will allow us to apply physics models to better understand how that corona is heated. We'll also be looking at structures of prominences or material from low down that's suspended in the corona that we're still trying to understand, especially in these infrared wavelengths where we don't have a lot of observations. And all of this will also help us to understand, of course, the sources of space flying the same instrument and not making any changes to it from 2024. Except that we're applying all of the lessons that we learned from the prior flights, including being able to fine-tune the observing time and the observing procedures. We also now have our data analysis pipeline already made from 2024, which will allow us to combine this data with the data from 2 years ago to new scientific measurements faster than we were able to do in the past.
Thank you so much, Mir. I know it is about to be capturing the eclipse in about 14 minutes, so best of luck out there, and thank you for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thanks so much.
Let's take a look at the telescope views right now. The partial solar eclipse has just begun in Spain. You can see a little slither of the sun that's been cut off on the one of the sides. It's just started to move in front, and it will take roughly an hour or so before it reaches the bright disk of the sun. These beautiful telescope views of the solar eclipse terrain. A few years ago, the Artemis II crew and the science team spent time there to prepare for the Artemis II mission. Let's learn more.
That Artemis astronauts will help us answer for the Moon and Mars, which are, of course, planetary bodies we're really excited about for human spaceflight. Specifically for the Moon, we have features here in Iceland that are geologically relevant to the Moon, and also just have a sense of scale and a sense of identity that really mimic what we know the lunar surface looks like. There's a reason Apollo astronauts trained here, and there's a reason we're bringing Artemis crew here now. This is just a really wonderful place to learn about processes that shape the Moon, really understand what it feels like to actually navigate and do an EVA or a spacewalk on the lunar surface.
In Iceland, we are doing field work. We're training crew members. This is a key location for training for Artemis crews. In real time, volcanic features that were not long ago. It's a
I'm here in Iceland training the Artemis crew in geology. There's really transformational science that we can learn about.
So it's a fantastic place here in Iceland to be able to train geology. Also navigation skills are another big component of what we're doing out here in a beautiful environment like this, out here camping in the high.
Wow, what an office to walk in. So on in our coverage, we're going to be taking a closer look at the student ballooning experiments as well. And that's been taking place in Iceland for the past 24 hours. But now, we're sitting with Marie Henderson, who is office to the science deputy. She has experience training in Iceland and has a key role in the Artemis II lunar flyby data collection. Marie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me today.
So during the Artemis II, the astronauts were lucky enough to see a total solar eclipse from space. Not be corny, but that's what I call sun and moon joy. Was it from your side?
We knew that it was a possibility to have a solar eclipse during our lunar flyby. So months before, we prepared our
lucky stars.
Yes.
Is seeing an eclipse from space any different from Earth? Did they see different things, and did they have to wear eclipse glasses?
Yes, they were to wear eclipse glasses. Those manifested, as you can see on your screen, for them to have make safe observations. One of the large differences between what you saw as they went around the moon and from here on Earth is we look at an eclipse through Earth's atmosphere, and so they didn't have to use the atmospheres that are going around the moon. So they're able to see the full extent of that corona as well as the zodiacal light in the solar system.
And how long was the eclipse up there?
It's about 50 minutes long. So longer chance to look at that eclipse.
Wow, what an opportunity. What was the day like for you in the SUR?
It was a very exciting day. This is not something that we really knew exactly how it would be. And so we had just had a beautiful flyby of the moon, and then we turned to watch this eclipse. And the description we heard coming saying that they were, this is sci-fi, and they couldn't even imagine in this glow. We didn't see that in our coverage, but once those images started coming at night, it was mind-blowing to see exactly what they're describing, and I wish I was there myself.
Same. Well, that's incredible. So Artemis has just launched, and so we have Artemis 3 to look forward to. Can you tell me how you're preparing for that mission?
Yeah, so Artemis 3 is a different type of mission. We're not going to be going to the moon. We're actually going to be working in Earth orbit. And so this will give us an opportunity to test this will be a spacecraft that we take down to the surface of the moon. And so we'll work to hopefully dock with one or both of the human landing systems. And we're also going to have an opportunity to do a lot of science at Earth, because this will be a new, unique viewing orientation as well.
Wow, what an exciting few milestones to look forward to. Well, Marie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
So if you've just joined us, take a look at these maps that we're showing you right now. You can see that it's close to reaching Iceland. We're about 5 minutes away from totality in Reykjavik. And over in Spain, you can see 45 minutes left until totality. So these are views from Villabado in Spain that we're seeing right now. And if we switch back to the map, you'll see that the moon shadow actually looks pretty slow as it's traveling across Spain, but it's actually traveling at over 2,000 miles per hour. These maps were made by my colleague, various data to today's eclipse.
I'm excited.
Yes, and I'm sure the NASA pilots must be excited as well in the plane.
Yes, exactly. It's a great view. It really is a great view from that.
So here we're seeing a live view from the WB-57 aircraft sensor right now. They're moments away from seeing the moon's shadow hit Earth and also chasing the eclipse. And we haven't actually seen the view of the moon yet from the moon. They will be capturing images once totality hits Iceland. And on the right-hand side, we're seeing a partial eclipse from Norway. It's really exciting. So we have places across Europe that will be able to witness a partial solar eclipse. There'll be many, many people here that will be able to experience this amazing celestial event. So let's see how many, we're about 6 minutes away from totality in Iceland. Yeah. What do we expect to see right before totality?
Right, so right before totality, we're in that partial eclipse that's going deeper and deeper. And you start to see things dark. So clouds, it's going to get a little bit darker. The weather is going to drop too, because again, you blocked out some of the sunlight, so you're going to cooler. There's some wind that'll pick up. So the eclipses are really full body experiences. You might also notice that animals react as well. It's not just humans that experience this, but if there are any animals, they might start to pretend that it's nighttime or realize it's nighttime and start to kind of nest. And this is very unique for that part of the world, because right now they're on almost 24 hours of sun. So they are going to be a little shocked by this. And so you'll be experiencing a lot if you don't get to see the beautiful corona.
Yeah, I'm thinking about everyone on the ground in Iceland right now. They may be seeing clouds, but can you tell me, how does the climate shift when an eclipse happens? Because I've heard that the weather can change drastically.
Definitely. 2016, I was in and there were thunderstorms, and during totality it parted just around the sun and was able to actually fully enjoy the eclipse and see my first total. That was my first total solar eclipse. So there is hope that though that the clouds are influenced by that change in data that's coming through. So we're hoping that some of the winds and some of that changes could change things for Iceland.
Okay, so we're seeing right now on screen a live view from Spain. That's because the telescope views in Iceland are obscured by clouds. But as Kelly mentioned, I'm hoping that the clouds will part and the weather will change for them. Anything can happen at this point, right?
Right, anything can happen. And also, we'll talk about the balloon experiments. Testing the atmosphere of the Earth is still affected, even if there's a cloud cover, and that helps us predict our model. It's not just about the coronal science, which is something that I'm very passionate about, but it is also about understanding our planet and how it interacts with the light that we're getting. According to something in the WB57, is getting close. They were there, so that's
okay. Wow. Okay, so everyone who's now the right-hand box, you will see the live views from the WB57 aircraft. That's where the NASA pilots are chasing the eclipse from the skies. So Kelly, can you tell me what are the benefits of observing the eclipse from up there?
From observing up there at 50,000 feet, wow, okay, so I'm looking at these, these are great. 50,000 feet, you're able to get above all the clouds. So there are clouds, and we're able to allow it to paint, so they get a few more signs of totality. You saw that beautiful pink on the sun. That is that film material that comes off the sun that can actually produce weather and affect our power grids here on Earth. It can affect our GPS. So if you ever use your maps to get anywhere, that's something that we need to understand to be able to. It also affects our astronauts, our dear now on the 57 feed, which is on the right side, and yeah, so you can see it in the NVIS area now, kind of right in the center. You're seeing that. This is amazing as we're using, down here, but this is really data scientists can love, because this is telling us very specifically about part of the data. So it's like taking only a little part of the TV stream in, and getting information about either the oxygen or the composition of what that's made of. And if we know what it's made of, we can do more science with it.
So we're about like a minute and a half away from in Iceland. And so we have a minute and a half for the clouds to part. So the sun view that you're seeing here, that is not of Iceland, that is of the partial eclipse in Spain. Iceland is still being covered with clouds, but totality will hit them in about just a minute or so. And luckily, our airplane, the WB57 aircraft, they're getting clear view of the eclipse from the sky. Seeing what on the nose of the plane will be seeing in roughly 1 minute, which is so exciting for them.
So exciting, yes, definitely. And you're starting to see what would be an effect. So little things that you're seeing. This is when happens when light passes through the valleys of the moon. So you don't have a perfect circle in the moon. It has. So yeah, and that's when you have your on, and when that ends, that's when we're able to do it. And I want to comment, this is an experiment, right? And so this is part of the reason why we're seeing kind of the arrows or the crosshairs go in and out. We are real time, this is real time live, how science happens is that we are trying to make sure adjustment and make sure we're getting it. Yeah.
So 7 seconds now to totality in Iceland. This is really exciting. We're getting a shot of the ballooning experiment as well. This is the nationwide eclipse ballooning project. They've been launching balloons during the past 24 hours leading up to this. So exciting. I can see that they're getting really excited with the clouds because they actually still data even though they can see the
exactly data. They are still experiencing a little bit of that darkness. It's obviously darker. See, it's definitely darker, even though you can't see the corona itself. And a little bit looks like sunset around the trees, and you know, hopefully we'll see this in Spain where it'll be very vivid imagery there.
Yeah, so it looks like totality has hit Iceland. So exciting. You can see that the lunar team is engulfed by darkness here. So that is so exciting. I can see them smiling. Oh my goodness. So why do we see a 360-degree sunset during an eclipse?
Because there is light on either. It's just blocking out in that specific shadow. So it's like the sun has gone down just in that one location, but you know, the rest of the Earth is still illuminated. So you still have oh wow, that is images of the sky and the airplane.
So we have experiments happening in the air and on the ground in, which is so exciting.
Definitely.
Wow. So, and then what we're seeing now is the partial eclipse happening in Norway. They will just be experiencing a partial. In Iceland, right now we have experiments, balloons capturing data in the skies, and also a plane capturing data in the skies as well.
Looking at the sun, there are those lines that you see, the dark lines. Those are magnetic features, and those again are the exciting things we want to know about for space weather, and so to better understand that. So the sun has given us some interesting things to look at, and those experiments will really help us.
Yeah, and so this is why eclipse observations and eclipse chasing is so critical, because even though they happen often, and even though we know exactly when they're going to happen, you never know the weather will skew you. So we want to take every opportunity and get observations. So if you were in Iceland and you were either seeing clouds or you were able to see the eclipse, please share your experience with us. We want to know what you experienced on the ground. Please tag at NASA for watching. So we have a lot of questions coming in here from social media. So can we dig into these questions?
Yes, let's dig in.
Alrighty, so we have Bo on Facebook, and they ask, are we really going to lose gravity during the eclipse?
No, we are not. Gravity really does to the Earth. The Earth does not change because of this eclipse, and so we're going to stay grounded.
Okay, noted. Gravity will not change. Okay, so we have another question from X, and they ask, how much can we actually learn about the sun during just a few minutes of totality compared to years of normal observations?
This is really about having all the observations, right? We definitely need that totality because the moon just happens to over the surface of the sun that we can see from that surface outward for that space weather, whereas some of our instruments aren't quite that close in. So we need to knit them together and use both a couple of minutes from the eclipse as well as the years of observations from our NASA satellites.
Okay, well, I'm glad that we have both ways of getting observations.
Exactly.
So we have another question here from Elinu on YouTube, and they ask, what will change in the solar eclipse?
Good question, and I think that's something still trying to be understood. But if you imagine you've stopped heating something up temporarily, they can see the air moving, and there starts to create winds. And when you create winds, you start to cool things down. So the weather changes due to just turning on and off the light alone, because the sun is so important to us in actually regulating our weather.
Wow. Okay, so we have another question here from Frank Perez on X, and they ask, for sending teams to do research in hospitality, how do you balance the creating value of
we definitely address it. There are great things to do with the atmospheric work, especially in the Arctic areas.
Thank you so much. So questions coming in, we'll more later on in the show. And so earlier, I also mentioned that we had questions for you, the viewers, as well. You can head over to Twitter and Instagram to here are some of those questions that we posed to you. So Kelly, let's see what those questions are.
Definitely.
So if you had to pick where you'd watch these from out of these special locations listed, I'm going to ask you this, Kelly. Which ones would you choose? So we have the International Space Station, a high-altitude plane, an observatory telescope room, and a NASA chase jet.
It would be a tough choice between International Space Station or high altitude plane. They've got such a huge overview. It's great.
Yeah, I think I would choose the same too.
Yeah.
Thank you to everyone who has participated so far. We're going to check back into those results a little bit later on. Next, let's head back to the ground in Iceland. We have another experiment there involving balloons. Students that are part of the nationwide eclipse ballooning project. They've been launching balloons continuously for the eclipse. We're chatting with them live from Iceland shortly. Let's learn more about their eclipse project.
Teams of students from across the United States, unique vantage solar engineering track that mostly is that get on different payloads. The other track is the science track, where they'll actually be launching weather sensors to study the impact of the eclipse.
Atmospheric science teams launch helium, the same as those used by the National Weather Service every hour for hours before and after an eclipse. Engineering teams and experiments they build themselves 100,000 feet up in the stratosphere. From there, they study a variety of things such as incoming cosmic radiation and ozone levels, as well as offering dramatic views of the moon's shadow on our planet.
The project is really a unique one in that it's both an education but also doing amazing science that's both about the eclipse itself and also the atmospheric response of the eclipse.
Student balloon teams made a historic first during the 2019 eclipse. They measured the eclipse-driven atmospheric waves in Earth's stratosphere, or large ripples in the air caused by temporary cooling due to the drop in sunlight.
What excites me the most about is thinking about the experiences that the students have that they'll remember forever.
Talking to us live from in Iceland with Jared and Heather, who are part of the nationwide ballooning project. Heather, thank you so much for joining us. I know you in Iceland. How was that for you?
It was awesome. I mean, it's definitely cloudy here, which is a shame, but we saw the lights dim. It was almost as if you were indoors and it was just lights. Which is never been the path of fatality before, so I've never seen anything like that. So it was really amazing.
Yeah, the wind totally stopped. It was wind, it just stopped. The birds flying over us all day, and they just disappeared. So it was a little eerie, kind of creepy.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm so glad that you could experience that, even though you had skies. So tell me more about what you've been doing. I think you've got balloons in the background. What are you measuring balloons in Iceland?
So we have balloons that are measuring a lot of different temperature, pressure, humidity, wind direction, and speed. And this is supposed to gather the atmospheric changes during the eclipse. So normally during the day, nighttime, when the sun is down, this air stops and it's called boundary layer collapse. So that's exactly the same thing that happens during the eclipse. And we're using these radiosondes to measure the atmospheric changes, the boundary layer collapse, and then the recovery. And we're in Iceland not just because it's in the path of totality, but also its northern latitude and its shorter nights make it boundary layer. So it's been a really cool opportunity to be able to see under the eclipse under this unique.
So you're both college students right now. How long have you been part of the project, and what made you want to join the project?
Yeah, so we started this project at the beginning of June. So we've been with our team, respective teams of University of Kentucky, and then NATO students from across Idaho. And we've been meeting once a week for launches, preparing.
That's great. And thinking about joining.
Yeah, so my biggest tip would be to was how I learned about this project. My club, just put an application in. You never know what opportunity you could get.
And then also, I would say, if you have a class that you're really interested in, just talk to the professors, see if they have even on the research, because it'll give you a good opportunity to apply your classroom knowledge to real life scenarios. You won't just get in the classroom. You never know what opportunities will arise. Like, right now.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. Well, so we head back to the map. The shadow is heading towards roughly half an hour away from totality in León, Spain. The moon shadow is roughly 180 to see totality there. It looks like they have clear skies, which is awesome. And so, if you are watching the solar eclipse from the ground, remember that safe solar glasses or eclipse glasses, like these on tape. The only time you can take them off during totality when you're experiencing it. Upon the eclipse in the United States, you can wear eclipse glasses the entire time. If you want to learn more about eclipse safety, head to science.nasa.gov/eclipses. So total solar eclipses give us a chance to study the sun's corona in greater detail, which helps us learn about how it behaves and affects us here on Earth. The sun is highly dynamic, creates conditions in space called space weather that can affect our technology. GPS systems, communication satellites, and even our power around. But in order to better understand it,
billions of people depend on the invisible network to connect us to space. Every day, those networks are at the mercy of our temperamental space weather and unleashes. That's why NASA's Space Weather Program tracks solar storms from the moment they erupt, modeling their paths, anticipating their impacts, and leading the research the world's industries rely on. NASA's space weather research is driven by the needs of society. It is critical to it equips pilots to reroute around high radiation areas, farmers to adjust GPS-based precision planting and harvesting plans, and power grid operators to mitigate the impacts of potential surges. For those exploring other worlds, NASA provides 24/7 space weather monitoring, Artemis crews at the moon, and future Mars astronauts who may be exposed to dangerous levels of radiation during solar storms. Whether you're a pilot or a passenger, a farmer or a consumer, a power grid operator or energy customer, a satellite controller or GPS user, space weather has us all.
If you're just joining us, welcome to NASA's live coverage of this total solar eclipse. We're probably about 20 or 25 minutes away from hopefully seeing the first instance of totality in Spain. So stay tuned for that exciting moment. NASA's space weather analyst, Karina Alden. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So your role talk a bit about what you do.
Yes, of course. So what we do is we see what possible planets they impact, and then from there we're documenting it and notifying NASA missions about potential impacts.
Just learned a little bit about the program. How does
and we may also see some impacts to agricultural folks who are using tractor precision farming.
And so back in 2024, we saw these huge solar storms. Can you tell us how that storm affected Earth and if we had to mitigate any of those effects?
Yes, so along with I'd have to do some mitigation, but honestly my favorite part was seeing the northern lights. And so 2024 is when I first got to see the northern lights. I saw them in August, and then you're seeing a picture that I took on my phone where we were in Maryland, which was absolutely incredible. And you can see a picture of the team that I work with, the Moon to Mars office, along with.
And I know you're also part of the team that monitored space weather 24/7 during the Artemis 2 mission when we flew astronauts around the moon. What was that experience like? Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Karina.
Thank you.
So next, let's hear from NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman and Head of NASA Science, Nikki Fox. My colleague Jasmine Hopkins called them to talk about why this celestial event is so important and what the 2026 eclipse can teach us about the sun.
Today, I'm thrilled to talk all about the eclipse with NASA Administrator and NASA Science and all the
walk away understanding about studying eclipses.
I think these kind of magical events, I would very much as a magical event, maybe creates a spark. And who knows how many people around the world got.
Eclipses are very powerful. You see stars, you see constellations, you see planets that you don't normally see. It kind of reminds you of our place in the universe.
Why do we still care so much about the sun? What is something new we can think about?
There's always new stuff to learn about the sun. It is our star. We know right now it has the responsibility to maintain the planet. And as we continue to be alone in the universe, understanding our relationship with our sun is so important, and eclipses give us that opportunity to do that. It is honestly the only time looking at how the solar wind. It bathes all of the planets, but we live in the atmosphere of the sun. So when you get these big events, they can cause havoc for technology here, and of course, our prime thing, keeping our astronauts safe in space. So understanding our sun is more critical today than ever.
Thank you both so much for being here today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you to NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman and Head of NASA Science Nikki Fox. Let's head back to Ernie right now, who is going to dive into our eclipse maps and where the eclipse is heading next.
Thanks, Joy. It's so exciting for me to watch this eclipse progress. I mean, we can predict these, but we really can't anticipate how you feel them until you see them. So I'm standing in front of the eclipse map, and just to recap, this red stripe is the path of totality. Those are all the locations that can experience totality. Seeing the from northern Siberia, it has already crossed Alaska. It's over Canada and the northern United States right now. And the level is the area where totality is actually taking place. It has just passed by Iceland. Although it was cloudy there, people got to experience the secondary effects of an eclipse, where you get the darkening and the brightness along the horizon. And it will very soon be over northern Spain, where we expect more than 15 million people will be watching the eclipse. Toward the end of it, partial eclipse in Western Africa. So this is a close-up view. Reykjavik is here. They unfortunately had clouds, but the WB57 was just above that. And kind of the spot that if you're on the center line, you get the longest eclipse of 2 minutes, 18 seconds today. And we're just a few minutes away from seeing totality pass over Spain, less than an hour before sunset. That should produce some really beautiful photographs, especially for folks on the beach watching this west. This is an unusual eclipse. It's kind of weird. And one reason for that is where the total eclipse, this is the Timir Peninsula in northern Siberia, and because they're so far north, that eclipse is at midnight. They are well above the Arctic Circle, so the sun is up today, and then the other kind of this north-south west to east. But this one, because it's so close to the pole, and because of the orientation of the Earth and the fact that it's a descending node eclipse, it's starting north and going south, and it's left turn into Spain. So we're looking forward to seeing that total eclipse in Spain, where the weather looks great.
Thank you so much, Annie. We're about 15 minutes away from totality eclipse. This is really, really exciting. 15 minutes left until the sun is completely obscured. Luckily, Earth is not the only place you can experience a total solar eclipse. Our astronauts on the International Space Station have witnessed several solar eclipses from this very unique vantage point. So let's learn more from my colleague Abby in Toronto, who caught up with on the space station a few days ago.
Well, hi, Jessica and Anil. It is so great to talk with you from the International Space Station. I see Earth and the solar system from a unique perspective every single day. Thank you so much for doing this long-distance call to talk about this moment.
We're so happy to do this with you.
We study the sun's influence on Earth's solar system, a field called heliophysics. What is the benefit of studying the sun from up there in low Earth orbit?
One of the big things is that there is a lot of particles that are around Earth, and those particles can be affected by coronal mass ejections, and those ejections can energize the particles and affect things that are in space. And the thing that we care about in space are satellites. Those satellites give us communication.
And he and his wife, they are eclipse chasers. So I think if I could share it with one very special person, somebody that played a role in inspiring me and helping fuel my scientific and be a successful scientist, it would be to watch that, and it would be to watch it from up there, because I never seen one from the International Space Station.
It got dark. It almost felt cooler, and I think they would really love it.
And Nil, I know you just arrived. Is there anything that you've seen out of the cupola or the wharf that surprised you since you've arrived?
Here's the most surprising thing. On the launch, you have a chance to look out of the window of the spacecraft as it's docking with space station. And when I looked out the right window, I saw the spread shining. I saw the spread shining. The International Space Station. I knew it should be there in space, and a lot of people did all math and engineering to get us there, but it just was just hard to comprehend at the same time, and utterly beautiful. It's this merger between art and science.
The best part of that moment, we were all inside the station, very anxiously awaiting small. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then suddenly it becomes your new home.
Thank you so much. It has just been a pleasure to speak with you both. I really appreciate you taking the time.
It's been wonderful speaking with everyone today, so keep looking up and we'll be waving at you.
So at last report from Mission Control, Jessica, Anil and the rest of the crew had their eclipse glasses on standby just in case the space station path brought them any unexpected views. So we'll keep an eye out and see if they saw anything. But this met something new coming. So a short while ago in Hodgson, US, one of our NASA photographers actually caught the International Space Station flying across the sun during the partial eclipse. Let's take an exclusive look at that image. Wow, that is an incredible shot. So this was taken by Joel Kowski with NASA headquarters. So in the middle, you can see a tiny little speck, and that's the space station that flew right in front of the partial eclipse at 1:14 p.m. time. You can see it along the middle here, and there are some cloud coverage. You can see the clouds kind of going in front as well, but this is a really beautiful shot. The space station is traveling at about 5 seconds here. So our NASA photographer took about half a second to capture this exact moment. In Joel's photographs, you can also see like the slither of the moon at the top corner as well. And the moon and the sun. Although Joel is a photographer, anyone can take photographs. So next, let's hear a few tips for one. There yet, but they are always there, which is awesome. So now I'm going to join here by NASA's Heliophysics Director, Joe Westlake. Joe, how are you feeling about today's event?
Oh, super excited to see it and to share our NASA science across the world.
So if you're watching from ground and you don't have eclipse glasses, there are actually many ways to watch an eclipse. These are through indirect viewing methods. So Joe, do you want to walk through some of those methods with us?
Yeah, so these are super cool. This stuff at home and things that you can use to help you view an eclipse safely without your glasses. So here we have just a standard colander, maybe what you have in your kitchen, maybe clean some, that.
So do you need a piece of paper?
You don't need a piece of paper.
Okay.
You can just have it on the ground, something light you can see. I got a flashlight that's sort of demonstrating what an eclipse would look like. I got a little piece of foam that I'll show. So let's shine our light, let's do our sun, and then show it as it would hit the and what you can see there is a nice little shape, which are showing on over in Spain. Of course, they would see beautiful little the moon shapes.
You don't be looking through the column, but you be shining through it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You want to use this as your light for you. The cool thing is you can use this, but you don't have to use this. There's lots of possibilities. So you can actually make your hand, right? So that's a cool way to do it. And then on top of that, let's say you're taking a walk in the woods. Well, the leaves of the trees actually make these kind of pinholes for you as well. When you do, you get this beautiful, moons and everything everywhere.
Thank you so much, Joe. Today's eclipse also lands on another special day. This day is part solar probe launched in
still a sign. Within what you see in the solar eclipse, and taking direct measurements of that corona to help us understand more sun work.
Amazing. So a lot of questions coming in from social media, and we have one post. Let's dig in. Kyle asks, it seems to be that there are a lot more solar eclipses happening the past few years. Did something change?
Nothing changed. The geometry of the sun and the earth is the same. One of the cool things about our technological society today is you can see many more of these things, whether it be because of social media, because access to cell phones, or just the excessive.
Now, let's go back to the eclipse map, where we're going to see the eclipse in real time. So as you can see in the bottom part of this video, the moon's shadow is just about to reach Spain. We're about 3 minutes out from totality hitting Spain. Leon, Spain is going to be experiencing totality, and it will be getting about 1 minute and about 44 seconds of totality, which is so exciting. The path is going to be hitting some other towns as well, such as Mallorca and Bilbao, and the view that we're seeing right now is of Leon, Spain. And even though totality hasn't occurred yet, you can see a tiny little sorry, on the okay, so remember to be completely blocking the sun. So back in the studio, we have Kelly with us again. Kelly, what makes this eclipse so special?
It really is special because, again, this is almost at sunset, so we're something that's a little bit different, having it so low on the horizon. And look at those images there. You're seeing that darkness already coming in, those kind of sepia tones instead of the normal bright light or even the normal types of sunsets.
Wow, so we are 2 minutes away from totality. You can see the crowds in the bottom corner there, and this is the sun's view. Oh my goodness, so 2 minutes to a slither of the sun left. It's just amazing.
Yes, it's so beautiful. There's comments there we see. So these are things that are very interesting and, again, can erupt in the space weather that we were talking about earlier. So this is a great view. And, it's not complete darkness. That little sun lights it up so that we can see the.
Wow. About half away, what should people expect to see moments before totality hits?
So what they should see is what we call the diamond ring effects, or the Bailey's bead. So these will be really bright lights from the last of sun coming through the moon's valleys. So that will come through, and you still need eclipse glasses or an indirect viewing method at that point in time. But then once that's done and you're in the path of totality, it's time to remove those glasses and see the corona with your eyes.
And if you're on the ground, what sensations will you be feeling?
It'll be getting colder. There might be a wind. You can, again, change animal behavior and around you. sunset all on the horizon. So just a few things to look for.
Wow, this is a stunning, stunning view. We have just a slither left, and this is the moon covering the sun's disk. When that slither will disappear. We're about 30 seconds away now from totality in Spain. If you're on the ground and you have clear skies, we're so happy for you.
Definitely. It's just beautiful, and probably feel so much excitement, and even feel a little fear. Like I think they felt it almost. It's a eerie light. It's not something that we're used to. Human experience, but here it goes. It's we're getting close to the dailies of the John Rain effect. So those should be coming very shortly.
Wow. All right. Totality is almost there. The slither is about to disappear. Okay.
There's the little that keeps it in a little magnetic cage. Oh, look at that. That's a nice view of the corona. You're seeing things that look like streaks coming out of this. Those are streamers. So that's the basis, the solar wind that we are being constantly outflowing material. That's the constant stream, and then you see what become a big chunk at some point in time in the pink filaments you see there. It's absolutely beautiful. Again, you see the prominence also on both sides, really. Maybe even one up on the other corner.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So there's lots of, even though the sun is supposed to be towards a minimum of activity, which means you should see less of this, we're seeing more of it. And this is one of the important reasons why to keep we're coming back out of it already. It was always, that has already happened so quickly. And once you see one, you definitely go back and see some more.
So totality ended.
Yes.
In Vietnam, Spain. Wow. So you're telling me we all see the diamond ring and Bailey's beads at the end of the eclipse as well?
Yes, exactly. Going into or out of the eclipses.
Okay, so this is a view from Valeria La Buena in Spain as well. They are seeing the eclipse right now. Eclipses happening in Spain are about a minute apart from one another in these telescope views. So they're seeing totality. So the red that we're seeing right now, is that another?
Is those pink filaments.
Yeah. And you can see the moon is moving away from the sun right now. What is that we're watching?
Yeah, these beads, and so they're the beads, and so now we're actually going out of totality again. So
wow, what a brief moment of totality. Yeah. This is just amazing. They have had clear skies, and this is exactly what you want for a total solar eclipse. Yeah. Wow. This is Mallorca in Spain. Oh my goodness, this is stunning.
Wow. Yeah.
Look at that corona. Why is it so much clearer? Why is the corona so much clearer during the total eclipse?
Yes. Yeah. So it's so much clearer because you're taking away all the bright light from the face of the sun. The sun is very, very bright. So it's a million times different. And a lot of the middle, you can see all the beautiful things that are going on behind it. And so, yeah, so this is a beautiful crescent moon that you're seeing. I think previously we were seeing those strikes of light. That's also closer to sunset there as you go more south in Spain. And already the light's returning, and they seem to be very excited in the crowd there.
Yeah.
It's such a great feeling to experience those eclipses, even though they were so short.
Wow. And experiencing a total solar eclipse, that is completely different to a partial eclipse.
It really is. And it took me, even as a whole heliophysicist, it took me a while for them to convince me that I should do it. And once I saw my first in 2017, I've seen multiple since, because it is a full body experience. It is very different than seeing just one bite out of the moon. The whole body experience and just the joy and awe and kind of your place in the world is so important to experience.
Absolutely. I'm for sure now an eclipse chaser. Well, that was an incredible solar eclipse. What a view. I am thrilled that their skies were completely clear, which means that we could see the sun's corona so clearly. And we could even see multiple prominences as well from the sun, which is a beautiful sight during an eclipse. So in a few minutes, we're going to be speaking with a NASA astronaut live from where they saw a total eclipse. But first, let's go back to the poll that we posed to you earlier on in the show. So, Kelly, I know that you had answered some of those questions as well. Yes. So let's take a look at what our viewers thought about those questions. Okay, so let's head to one of the poll questions. But while we're kind of like waiting to get that set up, let's continue looking at this beautiful partial eclipse now in Mallorca, Spain.
That's just gorgeous. That is just absolutely gorgeous in terms of that very little sliver. Again, this is towards sunset. So normally if you're looking at a sunset, especially over water, you're seeing that kind of orange ball, red ball go down, and then you have this beautiful eclipse to happen. These really are just going to be spectacular images.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so let's head back to the poll answers. Our viewers, so the first question was, where would you rather watch an eclipse from? You said the International Space Station, and our viewers would agree.
Yes, it'll be a party on the International Space Station.
I also wanted to be there too, so we're all going to be up there. The second question on the poll for everyone watching was, what would be your ideal eclipse watching soundtrack? And the options were cosmic lo-fi beats, dramatic space opera music, chill acoustic sky watching vibes, or just the sounds of nature and the crowds. And the winner was cosmic lo-fi beats.
Oh, all right. Yeah, that's a good soundtrack. I can see that.
Yeah. I voted for opera music, but
yeah, and I might be a little bit more sounds of nature, but you know, that's just me.
Okay. Well, anyway, thank you so much. So, although totality is over, the partial eclipse will still be visible for the next hour or so. Remember to stay safe while watching the rest of the partial eclipse by wearing eclipse glasses or by using an indirect viewing method. And so if you want to learn more about eclipse safety, go to science.nasa.gov/eclipses. Okay, so next we have a very special guest calling into the show live. NASA astronaut Don Pettit just witnessed the total solar eclipse from Alcañiz, Spain. Don, can you hear me? How are you doing?
I can hear you loud and clear, and I'm standing out in Alcañiz, Spain, just in awe from looking at the totality phase of this eclipse.
Wow, so how are you feeling? I know you just finished watching the eclipse. How are you feeling right now? What did you experience on the ground, and what did you hear? Were you surrounded by crowds at all?
The sky is exceptionally clear, and there's hundreds of people here, and that's part of the eclipse. It's not being off by yourself, it's being with a group of people, the people that live in Alcañiz, the group of people that I'm here with, and experiencing this amazing celestial event all together.
Amazing. So people might know you for your incredible photos and videos from your multiple trips to the International Space Station. Did you take any photos during this eclipse, or did you put your camera down for this one?
Oh, no. What I do is the same thing for launches. You set a camera up on automatic, and you get whatever you get from the camera, and then you stand back and you watch the launch or you watch the total eclipse. They're both kind of in the same category in that they only last a couple minutes in terms of what you could see, and it's better to view them through your own two eyes than through the viewfinder on a camera.
Okay, good tip from a NASA astronaut. So how did the experience watching this from the ground compare to watching an eclipse from space, which I know you've done a few times?
I've had the opportunity to see two solar eclipses from space, and in space, you look at the shadow projected on Earth. You don't look at the sun itself. And the shadow has all the detail that the classic astronomers from hundreds of years ago predicted. You see the umbra, you see the penumbra, you see the shadow moving over Earth, and it's a vantage point from space that you can't see from Earth.
Wow. So lucky. And I know you've seen a lot of other beautiful phenomena in space, like the aurora and air glow. What is it that makes watching a total eclipse special for you?
It's the whole package that comes with a total eclipse. It's the shadow phenomena that happens around you. It's looking at the corona around the sun. It's experiencing the reaction of all the people you're watching it with. So it's a human emotional event as well as much physics and natural phenomenology as you want to add to the mix.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, John. Any parting words?
Just get out and watch an eclipse, whether it's a total eclipse or a partial eclipse. They happen. Lunar eclipses happen. Get out and look up at the sky and think about what's going on and smile.
Thank you so much for joining us live from Spain. We're so grateful you could share your absolutely amazing solar eclipse experience with us.
You all take care.
Wow, Kelly, it's amazing to hear someone as passionate and knowledgeable as John.
Yes, it really is, that he's seen so much and he still is so passionate about the eclipse here on Earth. It just really tells you you have to see this thing.
Absolutely. So if you're looking to catch the next total eclipse, you're in luck because we have a few special ones coming up. Kelly, can you run through them with us?
Yes. So next year there is going to be an eclipse that happens in part of Spain, throughout the northern Africa, through the Middle East, and that's going to be the eclipse of the century, the longest one of the century. So it's 6 minutes and 28 seconds. That's going to be a very long one. And then in 28 we're going to have the eclipse over Australia and New Zealand. So these are going to be great scientific experiments as well as amazing experiences to experience on the ground.
Amazing. And what about the United States?
The United States, well, the next one where we'll have totality is 2044 in Montana and North Dakota, and then 2045. So it's going to be a while before we go California through Florida across the entire continent.
Amazing. So if you want to learn more about solar eclipses and NASA science, you can head to science.nasa.gov/eclipses. So Kelly, thank you so much for joining us in the studio today and answering all of our questions from our viewers. I also want to thank our guests who joined us in the studio and on the ground as well, and especially to our telescope partners and everyone who looked up with us here today. And so I think we may have some eclipse pictures from the International Space Station. I'm going to see if we can grab them now for you. If you can't, we'll be releasing them shortly after the eclipse. We're going to be posting them online soon after the eclipse, but yes, we're happy that the space station astronauts were able to see the eclipse from space. So we have something else exciting happening in just a few weeks. NASA's Kennedy Space Center Launch Complex in Florida will become the next launch site for the Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope. This is a one-of-a-kind observatory that will help answer essential questions about dark energy, exoplanets, and much more about our solar system and out to the observable universe. The launch is currently no earlier than Sunday, August 30th. We're so excited for you to join us next time as we follow another historic mission in space exploration.
Every discovery begins with a new way of seeing. NASA's Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope will reveal the universe on an unprecedented scale. With its powerful, wide-eyed view, Roman will map vast regions of the cosmos, seek the hidden influence of dark matter, and uncover the mysterious force driving the universe's expansion. With a wider view comes a deeper understanding.